Rev up your engines. Today, as you can see and hear, I got an El Camino. Actually, it's my grandson's El Camino. Okay, the El Camino, what is it? Well, technically, it's a truck. It's actually based on a Chevy station wagon. Chevy wanted to compete with a Ford Ranchero, so they got rid of the station wagon part and put a pickup truck bed on it and a really nice curved windshield. Now, they sold over 500,000 of these things, many of them in the South, and you can tell this is a Southern car. You can also tell by the exhaust, this is Tennessee, they don't have any inspection laws, so it's straight piped. Technically, it's a pickup truck, but it's really a station wagon with a bed on the back, only at the same time, it is a muscle car. So basically, it's a vehicle for all seasons. As we look under the hood, it's got a big old V8 engine. These things have a lot of grunt. So it is a muscle car. And it is rear-wheel drive. Whoever owned it before put this nice new gas tank on it. Funny, because it says Holley Sniper EFI, and that is a Holley electronic fuel injection system. But this is actually an Edelbrock 4-barrel AVS carburetor. Got a lot of chrome parts on it, and it's been modified. They have both electric cooling fans and a mechanical fan, so this baby isn't going to overheat. You can modify these things to your heart's content. V8 engines, there's all kinds of mods you can do. Still got the AC accumulator, but it doesn't have AC, as you can see. There is no air conditioning compressor. It does have power steering, which you want, and a really nice chromed alternator on it, right? Even the water pump's chromed. But the air conditioning isn't hooked up anymore. So it does have fully functioning power brakes. The brakes are perfectly fine. And it's really good enough. It's got disc brakes in the front, drums in the back. Realize most of the racing these things do are just kids street racing around. You don't need four-wheel discs, really. You know, in a race, of course, they would overheat in the back from stop, go, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go on an actual racetrack. But for street racing, discs in the front, drums on the back are perfectly fine. It's going to stop it. If you really wanted to go whole hog and race them, yeah, then you'd want to drill the rotors and put discs in the back and take the drums off. But for all intents and purposes, the way it's set up here is perfectly fine. I gotta keep my foot on the gas until it warms up because the choke is fully open in the warmed up position. So the carburetor is set for warm operation, but it's cold outside. So we gotta wait a few minutes for it to warm up. Now, this is a luxury version because it's got power windows and they still work, albeit very slowly. It's a high-end El Camino. But that said, it still has a lot of power for zooming around. We'll take it out to our little drag strip. It's an American car, so, you know, you kind of point it like a ship. You're gonna see what this old El Camino still got left in it. Great for taking on the country. Nothing beats that V8 sound. And it's a fun toy to drive around. Just don't overreach its boundaries because there's only so much of a curve you can take. It's been modernized. It now has a digital speedometer. So all in all, this thing's in pretty good shape. Now, if you're looking for one, you want to make sure it's not rusted away because these things can be rust buckets. Now, this has been a Southern car, so it's not that big of a deal. But even then, as is often the case, the guy's completely done the floor pans over. They're super solid. They've all had re-welded steel put in. Those things almost always go out, but you can see, hey, it's still in pretty solid shape. The windshield's in good shape. These windshields are pretty expensive to get those curved windshields. And the body, you can hear, it's not all Bondo, except for the plastic part and the bumpers, of course, because it is an 81. They started to use more plastic in those days. It's a GM. My grandson put his Camaro wheels on it. And it looks pretty good with these Camaro wheels. There's a lot of stuff you can fool around with these things, modify to your heart's content. So if you're looking for a muscle car, hey, why not get a truck instead, which is what it technically is, even though it's on a station wagon frame with a pickup bed in the back. It's still pretty much a muscle car. And these things stand out. A lot of them rusted away, a lot of them got wrecked. If you can find one in a good shape like this that isn't all rusted out, just be sure you check for rust first. Because it doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside, if it's all rotten underneath, the frame is shot on these things and all rotten away, you don't want to mess with it. It's just too much work. And even if you don't live in a state like Tennessee, where they don't do testing of it, safety or emissions, this is an 81. Almost every state that I know of, that's grandfathered in, so it doesn't need emissions testing. So it doesn't have to have a catalytic converter. It doesn't have to have a test done to see if it's polluting too much. It's too old, and they grandfather them in. So you don't have to worry about all that garbage every year where you got to get it to pass a test so you can drive it. These are seen as classic cars, have a lot of fun with them, and you don't have to screw around with the old inspection rip-off where they're trying to sell you a bunch of crap because they got a license and they can do it by law. Hey, you can bypass the law by getting something like this that's grandfathered in the first place. And how many muscle cars have a nice bed that you can actually use to haul a bunch of stuff with? Let's face the facts. And here's some bonus questions and answers. RX500H says, do I need premium fuel? I recently purchased a Lexus RX500H and they say, oh, you're supposed to use premium. How come Toyotas can run on regular fuel like the Grand Highlander Hybrid Max, but they say mine has to run on high test gas? What do you say? Are you buying a top-of-the-line Lexus 500 Hybrid? You need to put premium gas in it. So a bunch of baloney. It'll run perfectly fine on regular gasoline. Now, you will lose a small amount of horsepower. Any modern car like that can run on any kind of gasoline. The computer will compensate. You will have less horsepower. That thing's got so much horsepower, you're not really going to notice the difference, really. Now, if you were racing it, but I mean, hey, it's an RX, you know, it's not a race car. If you raced it, you'd notice, whoa, your lap times are a little slower. You can't go as fast, right? But you don't have much power acceleration. Driving it around, you can use regular gasoline. You will just have a little bit less horsepower. All modern cars have so many computer systems in them that they can compensate for a lower octane gas. And yes, you will lose a small amount of horsepower. But that thing has so much horsepower, it won't make any difference. Unless you're drag racing everybody all the time and you want to win, it will run perfectly fine on regular gasoline. It's just the snob thing that Lexus says, oh, you have to use premium fuel in our car. You don't need to. Soldiers 93 says, what is a pending DTC? I have a check engine light, I replaced it, but it says pending code. What does it mean? Do I have to keep driving it? Pending means that a code is pending to set. It's not bad enough yet that it tripped the code, but it's not good enough that it's going to let it go through and have no codes at all. My advice would be do a total reset of the computer systems. Like I show people, disconnect the battery cables, then connect that little resistor in between. I got a video on that, and that will completely drain the battery system and the computer system and start from scratch. Then plug it in, automatically erase all codes if there's anything left, and then see what happens. Odds are it won't come back. Now, you said you had a check engine light and you replaced the part. What kind of a part did you buy? Let's say it was oxygen sensor, right? And you replaced the oxygen sensor. Most cars have 3 or 4 oxygen sensors these days. You might have replaced the wrong one because they don't tell you which one when it's coded. They'll just say oxygen, you don't know which one it is. But 2, even if you pick the right one, if you don't buy an original equipment factory one, that's the same company that makes them when they're built, it may not jive with your software and you'll still have the code. So keep that in mind too. Was it repaired correctly? Because if it wasn't, of course, the code will keep coming back. Just because you have a particular code doesn't mean that device is a problem. You can have an oxygen sensor code. You could have a vacuum leak somewhere. It'll make the oxygen sensor trip a code because it's got wrong data. But that's not the sensor. It's the vacuum leak. And if you replace the sensor, that's not going to fix anything. A lot of codes can have many different causes. That's why the OBD codes are called generic codes. They can have many possible causes. So you might not have fixed it in the first place. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.